half-truths and the people who use them and finding the actual truth. If you're a scientist or anybody researching anything in reality or in the internet, you're going to have to admit that you have a perspective and maybe bias concerning it. We're going to be talking about the meme of how much garbage is in the ocean in the middle of, for some reason, the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean. 360 pounds or 163 kilograms of plastic cover a 1 square mile area of ocean. That would be not a big deal, right? That's 6 pounds of plastic for every pound of plankton, however. The plastic out covers the plankton in the water. A 90,000 ton patch of trash or garbage over a 500,000 square miles of surface area. Bigger than that, actually. In the North Pacific, in something called the Great Gyre, a out-to-sea current vortex, collecting it. From 135 degrees west to 155 degrees west, and from 35 degrees north to 42 degrees north. That would work out to 360 pounds or 163 kilograms over a square mile approximately. Using the numbers we're dealing with. It's over 500,000 square miles. It's a specific tonnage. We can figure this out. So you have a 1 square mile area, 1 mile by 1 mile area, and potentially miles deep, depending on where you are, with 360 pounds of that matter being plastics. Well, how big are they? Well, one page will acknowledge 92% of the material consists of larger objects. Another page will talk about microplastics. That's defined as from fingernail sized all the way down to microscopic size. 3 of them in every cubic yard or cubic meter of water at the surface, suspended. The reason it's deeper than just being on the surface is it's agitated. But 92% of the material is larger objects. When you see them bringing stuff aboard, they bring it aboard in nets that can capture things larger than a certain size. And it still comes out as tons. Now they have videos of them taking these really big nets that they string between 2 boats, moving this way, with one at the back collecting it into this big net to dump it. A modified version of a giant gill net or whatever. But what is the truth? Well, good luck. You can look up ocean gyres. That's the spiral in the middle of many oceans or subsections in oceans. Plastic pellet pollution. The Northern Atlantic Garbage Patch and the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. There are others. Are you being lied to about a complex truth? The answer is yes. This whole thing boils down to only 1 or 2 sources that get cited on Wikipedia and re-mentioned over and over again as estimates. And more importantly, you can't see this from the surface unless you see a large object floating in the water, at which point you'd be encouraged to, fish it out of the water and get it out of there. What gets into the fish and therefore gets into you and me as microplastics? The stuff you can't see. It's microscopic. Even if it's fingernail size, the bodies of some of these animals will redigest it. And those animals get eaten and digested over and over again, so it does eventually break down the plastics, but what they break down to is something that thoroughly infests the environment. Getting it out of the water would consist of you catching everything in the ocean, and what do you do now? It's mostly organic material mixed with it. Are you going to take the organic material out? Are you going to put it uphill on a beach somewhere and hope that the weathering of the sand and the wind will somehow separate them preferentially to keep the plastics out of the oceans? Is it actually useful that the animals in the sea are basically imbibing it and pulling it out and cleaning the ocean? Does it worry you that there's a type of plastic in these areas that now digests hundreds of different types of plastics very easily and is now affecting ships at sea that relied on it. So we have to use silicone fillers instead of plastic-based stuff. Does it eat paint? Do you want to look it up? Are people going to take the lack of clarity, because it may not be possible to have any clarity, and abusing it for political, ideological, or advertising goals? Do you somehow believe one industry or another is totally innocent for some reason? Should we just throw our hands up and decide we can't learn anything from this? What we can learn is, I'm going to repeat something I've said before. The Industrial Revolution happened. Now we're in the technological revolution. We're already there. We're now experiencing the technological dark ages where people are making everything a subscription service and you have to pay everything, and everything's about spying on you. It's not about what you're paying for. It's about what they can get out of you that they're not telling you about now. We're now entering a phase where we need to recycle literally everything, not because we're running out of it from digging it up out of the ground, but because recycling it is more efficient than digging it up again. But unfortunately, we're at the point where we're going to be remining our landfills to get things that, honestly, it's more valuable to dig up your backyard or tear down that subdivision you live in and start mining it for all the garbage we threw in it. What is garbage even? Some of you know about the fact that cement has changed so much over the last several thousand years that older cement is better, and we're learning how to remake it. And you know what? Yeah, it was better, and we're learning this. And yeah, countries like India and other up-and-coming countries, especially just, fuck it, it'll be India, are going to take over the industries by remining old throwaways. The recycler industry, by definition, will be better. And you have almost an entire political group, an entire wingnut of the Republican Party, exclusively against recycling because it gets in the way of them making money off of make new and throw away, consumer disposable society stuff they make money off of. Yes, it's the Republicans. The Democrats also make money off of it, but at least they act like they're sad about it. I guess, maybe, depending on who you talk to. Do you have an entire political party continually saying that the environment isn't being polluted and that pollution of one kind or another, whether it be carbon dioxide or crap going in the ocean, that isn't hurting us? Are they still refusing to acknowledge, because somehow we have to get permission of RFK, to acknowledge that the Earth actually has a problem with it storing more heat than it used to, and it's fucking with us? How many goddamn hurricanes do you need to hit Florida that basically field strip your area before you realize, yeah, this isn't benefiting you? Tell your party to stop lying. It doesn't help that the group of people that lies about this most and pays for lying about it, the oil industry and other industries, was the group that originally discovered it happening. There's even an older reference to someone figuring out, the amount of carbon dioxide we're dumping into the atmosphere will cause a disaster in the late 21st century, early 21st century, which is what we're dealing with. It's one of the oldest references. I'll try to include a link below. But anyway, if you're curious about this, the garbage patch, as they kept calling it at one time, really did look like a pile of garbage. The problem is, it didn't disappear. It went underground or underwater. It turned into microplastics, which is the actual bio-threat for all of you and me. Do you really want to take a chance on this stuff? Or do you want to keep blaming glyphosate or anything else you've been told to look at in your populist news feed on Facebook, where they tell you to be afraid of literally space lasers that aren't there? Is it working for you? Is the copium being pumped in enough? So what's the actual answer on this? The answer on this is, if you haven't figured it out, we're not going to be able to clean that mess up. We can go out and clean it up as much as we can, and the planet will clean itself of everything that's a problem for it. The problem is, you and I are the problem. And the planet doesn't give a fuck. And they don't give a shit what your political party says, because they can't help you. It's not that it's a disaster that's going to happen that's very sudden. It's that it's already happening, and you're the boiled frog. By the way, that boiled frog thing doesn't actually work, but I guess we're stupid enough to do that, right? Look around you. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.